What happens when you tell your husband you are losing attraction and want to see other men, thinking he will stay and fight for you anyway? How does a man go from begging you to work on the marriage to calmly handing you legal papers in a hospital cafeteria with your own messages printed inside? Why did I think honesty meant no consequences? And why did he answer me with the law instead of another argument? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Leora Pellin, and I still think I was only being honest. People say I blew up my own life when I told my husband I was losing attraction and wanted to see other men. They act like I stabbed him in the chest. In my mind, I was doing the brave thing. I did not cheat in secret. I did not sneak around. I sat on our couch, looked him in the eye, and said the truth. My feelings were changing, and I wanted to explore before I turned old and dull. He said marriage meant choosing each other, even when the feeling dipped. I said that sounded like a prison. He said we could work on it, try dates, try therapy. I said love without attraction felt like being roommates. I told him a strong man would hear me, stay, and fight for us. He did not fight. He moved to the guest room. He started writing things down, putting papers in folders, going to personal meetings he did not explain. I laughed and told everyone he was being dramatic. Months later, in a hospital cafeteria, a stranger said my name and put an envelope in my hand. My honesty had its own heading. I told my husband I was losing attraction and started like any other tired weekday. I stood in our small apartment kitchen, leaning against the counter while pasta boiled in a cheap pot. The steam fogged the window. The TV in the living room played some show about house renovations that Ethan liked. Maya sat on the rug with her dolls, making them argue in tiny, polite voices. My phone was on the counter, screen lighting up every few minutes with small things. A group chat ping, a promo from the gym, a reminder to drink water. Ethan came in from the hallway, dropped his work bag by the door, and asked how my day at the office had been. I said it was the same as always, people complaining and me fixing their problems. He said he was proud of how patient I was with strangers. I said I wished someone would be patient with me for once. I meant it to sting. He stirred the sauce and asked if I was free Friday night, that maybe we could do a date, just the two of us. I said I had yoga and might go for a drink with some people after. He said we could pick another night. I said we always said that and never did. He looked hurt for a second, then said quietly that he was trying. I rolled my eyes and said trying was not the same as actually making anything feel different. I said we felt like roommates. The word hung there between the smell of garlic and the sound of Maya's dolls kissing the floor. On the fridge, our paper calendar was full of scribbles in 2 different handwritings. My looped, messy words for birthdays and yoga classes. His neat block letters for bills and school events. A red circle had appeared that I did not remember. Inside it, he had written, Harbour Point 2:05 p.m. next Thursday. I pointed at it and asked what that was. He said it was a personal meeting, nothing to worry about. I asked if it was work. He said it was not exactly work, just something he needed to do for himself. The way he said for himself irritated me. It sounded heavy, like a secret. I said he always loved to sound mysterious when he wanted attention. He just went back to stirring the sauce. On the counter, there were 2 mugs. Mine sat by the microwave. His was near the sink. We used to line them up together by the kettle. Now there was a space between them, like a missing 3rd cup. At dinner, Maya told us about school. She said the teacher had asked the class to draw their families, and she had drawn 4 people. I said we were only 3. She said she had drawn Grandma too, because she was always around. Ethan smiled. I did not. He asked if I could put my phone away for a bit. I said I needed to stay reachable. He asked who needed me so urgently. I said that was a controlling question. He said he did not want to control me. He just wanted to have one meal without competing with the screen. I told him competing was a strong word for someone who never tried anything new. After we cleaned up, Maya went to her room with her coloring book. Ethan turned off the TV and asked if we could talk on the couch. I sat down across from him, not next to him. He sat on the other side, hands folded, like he was in some kind of patient interview. He asked if I had been happy lately. I said happy was a big word. He asked if I still felt close to him. I said I felt fine. He asked what that meant. I took a breath and decided to say the thing I had been practicing in my head. I told him I was losing attraction. I said I did not feel that spark anymore, that I felt more like we were siblings sharing a space. I said I could not ignore that forever because it would turn me into a liar. His face changed slowly, like it was taking time to understand the words. He asked if there was someone else. I said there was not someone exactly, that it was more a feeling. I said when I went to the gym and talked to men like Kai, I felt seen. I said when I came home, I felt like furniture. Ethan said he was sorry I felt that way, but that marriage had seasons. He said passion could dip and return if we worked on it. I said working on it sounded like a prison sentence. He said we could try therapy, or a weekend away, or anything I thought might help us reconnect. I said I did not want to fix a dead thing. I said I wanted to explore while I was still young enough to see what it felt like to be wanted by different men, with honesty. I said sneaking around would be worse, so I was giving him the respect of telling him. He looked like I had hit him, but he did not raise his voice. He asked what I meant by explore. I said I wanted to go on dates, see what was out there, maybe have connections, and then decide what I really wanted. I said strong couples could handle that kind of honesty. He said he did not want to share his wife. I said maybe I was not really a wife anymore, if he could not make me feel anything. I pulled out my phone and called my mother on speaker. I told Nadia that I had finally told Ethan the truth, that I was losing attraction and wanted to see other men. She said I was brave. She said many women lied and cheated instead of speaking. She said Ethan should evolve and not grip so tight to old ideas. Ethan sat there listening, hands clasped, jaw tight. When I hung up, he asked if I enjoyed having an audience for our pain. I said I needed support, since he only supported himself. Later, he helped Maya brush her teeth and tucked her into bed. She asked if Daddy was sleeping on the couch again. He said maybe for a bit. She asked why. He said grown-ups were having a hard time. She asked if he was sad because I did not like him anymore. I listened from the hallway. I did not say anything. When he came back to the living room, he said he loved me, that he was scared, that he did not want to lose our family. I said love without attraction was not enough. I said I wanted to feel butterflies again, not safe. He asked what would happen if he said no to the idea of me seeing other men. I said then he would be controlling, and I would probably do it anyway. I said at least this way he would not be lied to. He went very quiet. Then he said he would not share me. He said he could not stop me from doing what I wanted, but he would not stand beside me while I looked for other men. He said he needed space to think. He took a thin blanket from the arm of the couch and said he would sleep in the guest room for now so I could have the big bed. He walked to the balcony for a moment, opened the door, and stepped out. Cold air slipped in. He stood there, looking at the dark street. I sat on the couch checking my notifications. The gym app showed a new story from Kai, lifting weights and grinning at the camera. The caption said something about knowing your worth. Ethan came back in, closed the balcony door softly, and carried his pillow down the hall toward the guest room. The apartment felt bigger with him moving away. The next morning, the first thing I felt was the empty space beside me in the bed. Ethan's side was cold. I could hear faint clinks from the kitchen and the low murmur of the news. Maya padded in with her hair messy and her fox in her arms. She climbed up and lay against my shoulder. She asked if Daddy was sleeping in the small room now. I said yes for a little while. She asked if it was because I did not like him anymore. My chest tightened. I said grown-ups just needed space sometimes, that it did not mean anything big. In the kitchen, Ethan stood by the stove with a pan of eggs. There were 2 mugs on the counter again, one near the kettle, one near the sink, a gap between them. He asked if I slept okay. I said I slept fine. He asked if we could talk more later. I said we had already talked and I had been honest. I said the ball was in his court now. Maya swung her legs from a chair and asked if we were going on a family walk after school. Ethan said he was not sure, that he had something to do that afternoon. I looked at the fridge. The red circle around Harbour Point 2:05 p.m. was still there. It rubbed me the wrong way. I asked if that was his something. He said it was a personal meeting. He said he wanted to understand how to handle what I had told him without making things worse. I said only weak people needed strangers to tell them what to feel. He answered that strong people knew when to ask for help. I rolled my eyes and told him he had been reading too many posts about self-care. Maya watched our faces in silence. On my way out the door, my phone buzzed again. A message from Kai sat at the top. He had seen my story from the night before. A picture of my legs under a blanket with the caption about big talks. He wrote that if I ever wanted to feel wanted again, the gym was open. I smiled to myself and slid my phone into my bag without answering. At the open plan office, the room hummed with keyboards, ringing phones, and low voices. Tessa waved me over to our usual desk pod. She had already opened the team chat. As soon as I sat down, she asked how the honesty talk had gone. I said I had told Ethan the truth, that I was losing attraction and wanted to see other men. I said he had looked like he wanted to cry but did not. Tessa winced and then grinned. She said at least I was not lying like most people. I opened my messages and showed her part of Ethan's text from late last night. He had written that he loved me, that he wanted to try everything we could before giving up, that he did not want to lose our family. I scrolled so that only the line where he asked what he could do to make me feel closer showed. I said he was begging. Tessa pulled a face and said, the "what can I do" line sounded desperate. I did not show her the part where he said he would respect my choice even if it hurt him. The team chat pinged. Someone had dropped a picture that Jules, my brother, had made. It was a photo from a family barbecue last month, Ethan and me on the couch. In the edit, Jules had put a little label over Ethan that said roommate energy, and over me that said searching. People reacted with laughing faces. Tessa wrote that I was too hot to be stuck with roommate vibes. I replied that I was just being honest and added a fire emoji. My screen filled with more laughing faces. Mid-morning, our manager, Mr. Dre, walked past our desks. He glanced at the chat on Tessa's screen and then at mine. He asked how we were doing. I said we were fine. He nodded and said he had heard some open marriage jokes in the break room. He said he did not want anyone's personal life to become a distraction or a reason someone felt uncomfortable at work. I smiled and said I could handle my life. I said people like to gossip. He said he understood, but asked that we keep things professional in the channels. When he walked away, I told Tessa he was trying to shame me for being honest. She said older men did not get modern relationships. At lunch, we went to the little cafe across the street. We took a table by the window. I told her again how I had told Ethan I wanted to see other men before I turned old and boring. I said a strong man would have stayed and fought. I said instead he had carried his pillow to the guest room. Tessa shook her head and said he sounded like he did not know what he wanted. I told her about Kai's message. Tessa laughed and said proof of attraction was right there. I let the praise soak into me like sun. On the way back, my phone buzzed. Ethan had sent me a message. He wrote that he had booked a session for Harbour Point 2:05 p.m. to talk to someone about how to handle everything. He wrote that he was not trying to go behind my back. He just wanted to respond in a way that did not hurt Maya more. He asked if I would consider coming to one session with him sometime. I showed Tessa the part about talking to someone. I said he was making our private life a project. I did not show her the part about Maya. When I got home briefly that afternoon, the apartment was quiet. Ethan's work laptop sat open on the dining table. I told myself I was not snooping, just looking where my eyes landed. On the screen, a spreadsheet was open. There was a column of dates, another of times, and short phrases in a third. Couch sleep. Leora said losing attraction. Maya question about not liking daddy. Guest room night. One line was blank, except for a date next week. At the top, a tab name said simply, LP, EP, my initials and his. At that moment, the front door clicked. Ethan walked in holding a reusable bag from the corner shop. He saw me looking at the screen. He asked if I needed anything from the store. I ignored that and pointed at the laptop. I asked if he was building a case. I said only crazy people made spreadsheets about their marriages. He said he was writing down what happened, so he did not feel like he was imagining things later when stories changed. I said stories changed because people grew. He said they sometimes changed because people edited them. He gently closed the laptop without slamming it. That calm little move made me angrier than if he had snapped it shut. On his phone on the table, a reminder popped up. Meeting, Personal Oak Ridge, 9:45 a.m. Friday. He tapped it away. A moment later, a message preview appeared for a thread called Follow Up. He picked up the phone and walked into the hallway to answer. His voice dropped low. I caught only pieces. He said he had notes. He said he wanted to understand options. He said there was a child involved. That evening, I went to my usual gym class. The room smelled like rubber and soap. Music played from the speakers, and Kai walked between rows of mats, correct posture here, a shoulder there. After class, in the locker room, women chatted as they changed. Someone asked how my big talk had gone. I smiled and said I had told my husband I was losing attraction and wanted to see other men. I said he had gone to sleep in the guest room and booked some kind of feelings meeting. People laughed. One woman shook her head and said most men would just cheat instead of being honest. Kai leaned on the doorway, towel around his neck. He asked if I was okay. I told him my husband was struggling with my honesty. I said I had given him a chance to be strong and stay, but he was choosing to mope. I said it was not my fault if men could not handle truth. Kai said quietly that wanting to feel desired was normal. He said some men were just not built for women who knew their worth. The other women nodded. I felt seen. My phone buzzed on the bench. Ethan had sent a new message. He wrote that he hoped my class went well. He said he had made pasta again and left some in the fridge if I was hungry when I got back. He added that he had read about limerence and wondered if that was what I was missing, and that he was willing to learn. I showed Kai and the others a part of the message, just the line about reading and learning. I said he was overthinking simple things. They laughed and said it sounded like homework. On the tram home, I watched the city lights reflect in the window and scrolled back through the group chat. Jules had dropped another version of the roommate energy meme. This one had text over Ethan's face saying still trying, and over mine saying already gone. People had added more laughing faces. When I walked back into the apartment, the living room was dim. The household folder lay open on the table. Next to it, a new thin binder sat, labeled bank. Some envelopes were stacked beside it. Ethan was not in the room. I heard Maya's voice down the hall, reading with him. I shook my head and told myself he was being dramatic with his files. I sat on the couch and opened my phone. At the top of the screen, a new notification came in from work. Mr. Dre's calendar invite sat on my screen like a warning light until 10 o'clock. When the little reminder popped up, Tessa made a dramatic face and whispered that I was in trouble. I said it was probably about metrics. I walked to the small glass meeting room with my notebook, like a good employee. Mr. Dre sat with his laptop open and a mug that said, world's okayest manager. He asked how I was. I said I was fine, just tired. He said he had noticed a lot of personal joking in the team chat. He turned his laptop so I could see. The friend zone husband meme Jules had made was on the screen, along with my fire emoji and line about being already gone. He said he did not want to police people's private lives, but when co-workers started laughing at my husband, it could make the workplace feel unsafe. I said nothing was unsafe, that we were just being honest and modern. He said he understood that relationships changed, but he asked me to keep family matters out of the main channels. I told him he was making a big deal out of jokes. I said at least I was not hiding anything. He said there was a difference between honesty and turning someone into a punchline. That word bothered me. I said Ethan was not his concern. He said Maya should be everyone's concern, including mine. I did not like hearing my daughter's name in his mouth. When the meeting ended, I walked back to my desk with my jaw tight. Tessa asked what he had said. I told her he had tried to shame me for talking about my open feelings. I did not repeat the part about Maya. She rolled her eyes and said, older men were threatened by women who refused to suffer in silence. I let myself believe that version. All day, people talked about the staff social that night. The company had booked a rooftop bar to celebrate Q2. There would be drinks, photos, the usual empty toasts. Tessa asked if Ethan was coming. I said he had been invited and that he had said he wanted to show his face, but that I told him he did not need to. I said it would probably be awkward for him when people knew about my honesty. In the late afternoon, he sent me a message. He wrote that he would come to the bar for a little while, that he wanted to see where I worked and support me. He said he did not plan to drink much and would drive home after. I stared at the words. Part of me wanted to tell him not to come. Another part wanted him there, to see me in my world. I texted Jules instead. I wrote that Ethan was planning to crash the work social. Jules sent back a laughing face and wrote that it would be good content. He said I should tell the story there on the roof so my coworkers could see how brave I was. The idea buzzed in my head like caffeine. That night, the rooftop was crowded and loud. Strings of lights hung overhead. The city stretched out around us, windows glowing in other towers. A DJ played safe, office-friendly music. People held small plates and cheap wine in plastic cups. Tessa and a few others waved me over. I showed them my new dress, simple but tight enough to remind me I still had a body. When Ethan arrived, he looked like he always did after work. Button-down shirt, neat hair, tired eyes. He smiled when he saw me, walked over, and kissed my cheek. He said the view was beautiful. I said the drinks were weak. He laughed softly. Tessa watched from behind her cup. I introduced him as my co-parent without thinking. People chuckled. Ethan's face flickered, like a light about to go out. We stood in a small circle. People started asking the usual questions. How long we had been married, where Maya went to school. Someone mentioned the meme from the chat, the roommate energy joke. Tessa said I was out here being honest about modern love. She nudged me. I felt the circle's eyes. The wine warmed my chest. My tongue loosened. I said that I had told Ethan I was losing attraction, that I wanted to see other men before I turned 40 and regretted my whole life. I said it like a punchline. People laughed in that half-shocked way, unsure if it was safe. I added that at least I had said it to his face and not cheated behind his back. I said I gave him the chance to be strong and stay. Ethan didn't laugh. His jaw tightened. He said he did not think this was something to turn into a party story. I said I did not want to pretend everything was fine when it was not. I said hiding the truth had never been my style. Tessa took a small step back, phone in hand. She said she was definitely not filming, but her camera was open. The DJ turned the music down for a moment while someone clinked a glass, wanting to give a speech about team spirit. My voice landed in the quiet. I said I just wanted to explore options, that my feelings had changed, that I wanted to know if there were other men out there who made me feel alive. I said Ethan did not want to share me, that he had moved into the guest room instead of fighting. You could feel the air change. A couple of co-workers looked away. One of the guys coughed and stared at his drink. Someone near the railing whispered something I could not catch. Ethan looked like the floor had shifted under him. He asked if we could talk somewhere more private. His voice was low. He said this did not feel respectful. I lifted my cup and said I was trying to normalize honest conversations. I said I would not hide my truth. He asked again, more quietly, if we could step aside. There was something in his eyes I did not recognize. It was not anger. It was something like final. We stepped over to the edge of the roof, near the glass barrier. The city lights shimmered below us. He said he needed to know if I genuinely wanted an open marriage or if I wanted out. He said he could not live in a half-life where I chased other men while he waited. I said I did not know yet, that I wanted to try things and see how I felt. I said he should be proud that I was brave enough to say it out loud. He said he felt like I had taken a knife to our life and called it art. I said he was being dramatic. I said lots of women had secret affairs, and I was choosing the honest route. He asked if I would accept him dating other women while still living with me and Maya. I laughed and said it was different, because women looked at men cheating in another way. I said he knew that. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he said he could not share me. He said he would not stop me from doing what I wanted, but he would not stand next to me and clap while I pushed him out. He said he would not be my backup plan. His voice did not shake. That bothered me. He offered to drive me home later. I said I might stay with friends. He nodded once. Then he said he would not stay to watch. He walked toward the elevator. As he went, his phone buzzed in his hand. A call came in labeled private. He stepped aside, answered in a low voice, and said he was in the middle of something, but could confirm dates later. When he hung up, I saw him forward something on his screen. A small banner flashed. File uploaded successfully. Then the elevator doors closed between us. I went back to the group, heat crawling up my neck. Tessa asked if everything was okay. I said he had left instead of fighting. I shook my head and called him weak. I said a real man would have stayed and handled my honesty. People laughed again, softer now. Someone lifted a phone and said we should toast to being brave enough to admit when attraction fades. The morning after the rooftop bar, I woke up waiting for impact. I thought Ethan would slam doors or stand over the bed with some grand speech about respect. I had poured gasoline on our life in front of my co-workers. Surely he would light it. Instead, the apartment was quiet. The side of the bed where he used to sleep was flat and cold. I could hear the soft clink of cutlery from the kitchen and a cartoon voice from the living room. Maya shuffled in, clutching her fox. She climbed onto the bed and pressed her warm toes against my leg. She asked if Daddy was living in the small room now. I said he was only there for a while, that grown-ups sometimes needed different pillows. She asked if it was because I did not like him anymore. My chest squeezed, but I told her it was not about liking, just about space. She frowned like the word did not help. In the kitchen, Ethan was at the sink rinsing dishes. There were 2 mugs on the counter again, one by the kettle and one near the sink with a gap between them. He asked if I had a hangover. I said I was fine. He asked if I remembered what I had said on the roof. I said I remembered being honest. He said he remembered being turned into a joke in front of strangers. He did not shout. He said it in an even tone, which somehow made me more annoyed. I said everyone joked at work events, that he was choosing to feel attacked. I said he could have stayed and proved how strong he was. He answered that walking away had been the only strength he had left. I rolled my eyes and told him he was being dramatic for someone who had simply taken an elevator. On the way to put my mug in the sink, I passed the little desk in the corner of the living room. A clipboard lay there now. At the top of the first page, in Ethan's square handwriting, one word sat alone. Statement. The rest of the page was empty. I picked it up and waved it at him. I asked if he was planning some grand speech for a judge. He said he was writing down what had happened so he would not question his own memory later. I said he was turning our life into homework. He took the clipboard gently from my hand and laid it back down. On the fridge, the red circle around Harbour Point, 2:05 p.m., was still bright. Next to it, another red circle had appeared in his block letters. Seaside Offices, 4:40 p.m., with the word follow-up scribbled in pencil under it. I laughed and said he was acting like our kitchen was a law firm. He said they were just meetings to understand his options. He did not say options for what. I told him only people looking for drama needed that many appointments. We had already promised Maya we would go to the park before a family lunch. Ethan still wanted to follow through. I did not want to look like the one who broke plans, so I went. At the playground, kids ran across damp grass and climbed metal frames. Maya raced toward the slide. Ethan followed her, hands ready to catch. I stood near a bench where two mothers I knew from school were talking with takeaway cups in their hands. One of them had been at the rooftop bar. The other had only seen the video Tessa posted to her close friends. The one from work held up her phone and showed the clip to the other. In it, I stood with my cup raised, saying I wanted to see other men, and that Ethan had moved to the guest room instead of fighting. Ethan's face was visible in the background for a second, turned toward the elevator. The caption read that honesty was hard but worth it. There were laughing emojis under it. I laughed and said everyone needed to relax. I said I had just been brave enough to say what most people thought in private. I said I did not see the point of pretending attraction stayed the same forever. One of the mothers said it was still rough to hear at a work event. I said men had talked like that for years and no one cried. I said Ethan had chosen to leave rather than be a man about it. Over by the swings, Ethan pushed Maya gently. Her laughter floated back to us. I could not tell if he heard what I was saying. Another mother asked if he was okay. I said he was sulking, that he liked to play the victim. I said he had already booked 2 feelings appointments to complain about me. They laughed in that careful way people use when they are not sure which side to take. Later, at the family restaurant, the lights were too bright and everything smelled like fried batter. We had a long table covered in paper menus and crayons for Maya's small early birthday. My parents, Nadia and Peter, sat on one side. Ethan's parents, Rosa and John, sat on the other. Ethan and I took the middle with Maya. Jules arrived late and dropped into a chair, phone already in his hand. At first, we talked about neutral things. School, Peter's shifts at the hospital, John's garden. It took effort. Every time everyone went quiet, I felt the urge to fill the space. It was like itching. Nadia asked how work was going. I said work was fine, but the staff social had been more interesting. That was my opening. I told them how the rooftop bar had this amazing view, how the drinks were weak but the conversation was strong. I said I had told my co-workers and Ethan that I was losing attraction and wanted to see other men before I turned 40 and felt trapped. I said it like a stand-up routine. Nadia clapped her hands once and said I was brave. She said most women swallowed that feeling and then exploded later. She said I should not let anyone shame me for wanting passion. Peter shifted in his seat and looked at Maya's colouring sheet. Rosa set down her fork. She asked very calmly if I had truly said that to Ethan in front of his co-workers. I said yes, proudly. I said I refused to hide. I said hiding made liars. Honesty made adults. Rosa asked how I would feel if Ethan stood at my work event and announced he wanted to try other women because he was losing attraction to me. I laughed and said it would be different because men's cheating was normal and women's desire was judged. I said we needed to balance things. Jules pulled out his phone under the table and showed Nadia and Peter another meme he had made from the rooftop photo. In it, Ethan had a little caption over his head saying "still trying," while I had already exploring. Nadia laughed. Rosa did not. Ethan put his fork down. He asked if we could not turn this into a show. He said he was tired. He said he felt humiliated and did not want Maya listening to us joke about wanting other men. I said he was making everything about his feelings. I said I had every right to speak my truth, even in a restaurant. I said if he had handled it properly in private, I would not need to say it in public. John gave his son a long, quiet look. Rosa told Ethan she was sorry he had to hear that. She told him he deserved respect. I jumped in and said he was getting respect in the form of honesty. I said people like her wanted women to shut up and stay in dead marriages. Rosa said she wanted her granddaughter to have stable parents. I said stability without attraction was a coffin. The words sounded clever in my head, even if they landed badly on the table. Maya had been drawing little hearts and stick figures on her kids' menu. She looked up suddenly. She asked if Daddy had moved to the small bed because he was not handsome enough anymore. She asked if I wanted other men because he got boring. The whole table froze. Ethan looked like someone had put a hand around his throat. Rosa reached out and stroked Maya's hair. She told her that Daddy's looks were not the problem, that grown-ups were being selfish with their words. Nadia hurried to say that Mommy just wanted to feel young. Peter cleared his throat and asked Maya if she liked her chicken. His voice wobbled a little. I said people were overreacting to one honest comment. I said kids heard worse on the internet. Rosa looked at me with eyes that felt like glass. She said, in a level voice, that Maya should not have to ask why her father was not enough. After lunch, back at the apartment, Ethan took Maya to her room with a new book. I stayed in the living room and stared at the wall. The clipboard with statement was still on the little desk. Next to it, a small pile of papers sat neatly stacked, separate from the usual bills. In the hallway, I heard a low hum. The shredder under the desk was chewing through something thick. Ethan fed in old flyers and junk mail. I said he was shredding our life. He said he was shredding trash. He did not touch the neat pile. Later in the week, we ran low on milk and basics. I took Maya to the supermarket. The fluorescent lights made everything look tired. We walked up and down the aisles, putting things into the cart. At the checkout, the line was slow. As I stacked items on the belt, I heard someone say my name. Rosa stood behind us with a small basket, bread, apples, tea. She said she had not expected to see us there. I said we lived in the neighborhood, so where else would we be? I tried to sound light. She asked how Maya was. I said Maya was fine, just curious. Rosa looked at my daughter for a moment and did not argue. She lowered her voice and said Ethan looked tired, but focused lately. She said he was getting his things in order. She used that phrase, in order. I shrugged and said he always did this, that he liked to overreact and then calm down. I said he would not really go through with anything big. Rosa said very softly that she had never seen him like this, that he looked finished, not angry. The cashier pressed a button. The receipt printer started to whir, spitting out thin paper. As it printed, Maya tugged at my sleeve. She asked if Daddy had left because I wanted other men more than him. Her voice was clear and too loud in the bright store. Heads turned. Rosa watched my face. After the supermarket, I walked home with the receipt crumpled in my pocket and Rosa's words echoing in my head. Finished, not angry. I told myself she was wrong. Ethan always cooled off. That was our pattern. He would sulk, overthink, then come back to me with some plan to win me over. I depended on that, even if I mocked it. It meant I could go too far and still not lose him. When we got back to the apartment, Ethan and Maya were on the living room floor, building a crooked tower from old blocks. He looked up and asked if we found everything at the store. I said yes. I waited for him to bring up the question Maya had asked in front of his mother. He did not. He asked if I could hand him the milk so he could make pancakes tomorrow. That was it. The next few days, something in him felt different. Not bigger, smaller and sharper, like a knife hidden in a drawer. The dining table turned into an office. The thin household folder that I had mocked lay open, and beside it were new ones. Bank, school, utilities. All in his tight block letters. Papers sat inside clear sleeves. Some looked like bills. Others were printed screenshots, tiny black boxes of text. A pen and a small notebook lay beside them. I picked up the bank folder and flipped it open. I saw account numbers, statements, a list on lined paper with 2 columns. His income, my income. Under that, another list: rent, food, school, clothes. At the bottom, a line that said Maya's things, underlined twice. I shut it with more force than needed. I said he was turning our life into a tax audit. I said normal husbands did not make lists about their wives' spending. He said he was looking at what it took to keep things going, with or without me. I said that was a threat. He said it was just math. On his laptop, I saw a new screen one evening. His desktop was almost empty. In the corner, 2 large folders sat, Archive A and Archive B. I asked if we had become a company. He said he was just organizing files so he could find things when he needed them. I said only people planning drama needed archives. He did not respond. When I walked past the fridge, I noticed another red circle had appeared. Next to Harbour Point 2:05 p.m. and Seaside Offices 4:40 p.m., there was now North Court Centre 10:50 a.m. on a Tuesday. A yellow sticky note was stuck beside it. On it, in block letters, it said, "Bring forms," with a small arrow. I laughed and said he was acting like a clerk. I said he just liked to feel important with all these meetings. He said he was making sure he had everything in order. That phrase, "in order," annoyed me. At night, when the apartment was quiet, I sometimes heard a low hum from the little desk in the corner. One time, I peeked in and saw the printer spit out a blank page and beep. The air smelled faintly like warm toner. Ethan checked the printer, made a small note in his notebook, then fed the blank page into the shredder below. The shredder chewed it up with a soft growl. I said he was acting like we were in a crime show. I said only people planning to betray someone moved that much paper. He said quietly that he had already been betrayed. He said he was just trying not to be surprised again. I told him he loved to call himself a victim. He did not even look up. On the shelf above the desk, under a thick taxes folder, a small USB stick was taped to the wood. A thin strip of paper was wrapped around it, with a date from that week written on it. I tugged at the tape. I asked what secret codes he was hiding. He took the stick gently from my hand and put it back. He said some things were for his records. His voice stayed calm. The calm made me furious. The next day, I went to pick Maya up from school. When I turned the corner, Ethan's car was already parked near the gate, facing the street. He stood by the fence with a small notebook in his hand. Maya ran out and jumped into his arms. He lifted her easily and kissed her hair. I walked up and asked if he had switched his hours. He said he had talked to his boss and changed some shifts so he could do more pickups and drop-offs. He said he wanted to keep track of her routine now. I said he was trying to make himself look like the better parent. He said he was trying to be present, that someone had to be steady. The way he said someone made my skin itch. As we walked back to the car, he wrote something in his notebook. The date, the time, a short note. I leaned over and asked if he was marking down the minute I appeared. I said he was treating me like a late employee. He said he was writing down that he had picked her up and that the teacher had mentioned a reading task. He said details mattered when people told stories later. I said only lawyers cared about details like that. He looked at Maya instead of answering me. That weekend, I met my parents at the park. Maya ran to the swings. Peter sat on a bench with a coffee, eyelids heavy from night shift. Nadia wore a bright scarf and large earrings, ready for drama. I told them about the rooftop bar again, but this time I put more weight on what came after. I said Ethan had moved into the guest room, that he was seeing some advice people about our marriage, that he had started arranging folders and writing dates like a court reporter. Nadia said men puffed up with paper when they felt small. She told me not to be scared of forms and meetings. She said no judge could kill passion. Peter watched Maya go down the slide. After a while, he said he understood why Ethan was hurt. He said he could not imagine hearing his wife say she wanted other men in front of his co-workers. I said people were acting like I had stabbed him when I had only spoken truth. Peter shook his head. He said sometimes truth used like a weapon still cut. I told him I was not the cruel one, that Ethan was the one planning some secret move. Peter looked at me and said quietly that Ethan did not look like he was planning drama. He looked like he was done. That word again, done. Back at home that evening, I could not stand the quiet. Ethan sat at the table, sorting papers into folders. The sticky note bring forms glowed yellow. The red circles on the calendar looked like wounds. The notebooks lay open. The clipboard with statements still weighted with a blank page under the heading. Beside it, I saw now a second page with bullet points in small handwriting. I could not read them from where I stood. I stepped between him and the table. I asked if he was planning to destroy me with all this. I said he was threatening me with unknown papers. I said instead of doing the work of the marriage, he was running to strangers and hiding behind forms. I told him he was emotionally abusing me with his silence. He leaned back in his chair and looked up at me. His face was tired, but something in it was clear. He said he had tried talking. He said he had tried crying, shouting, writing me notes, planning dates. He said every time, what came out of my mouth later to friends and family was a different story. He said he was tired of being the villain in my version. He said he needed something solid because he felt like he was losing his grip on what was real. I said he was calling me a liar. He said he was saying our stories did not match and that the gap was too big now. He said that was why he wrote down dates and words, who was present, what was said. He said he wanted to remember what actually happened when things got twisted later. I laughed and told him only unstable people talked about losing their grip. I said if he had any courage, he would either forgive me and stay, or leave and admit he was giving up. I said dragging this out with notebooks was cowardly. He did not fight the word. He said maybe he had been cowardly before, hoping I would change. He said he was not going to beg me not to see other men. He said he could not stop me. What he could do, he said, was decide how much more damage he let me do to him and to Maya. He looked down at the folders, then at the red circles on the calendar. He said he was finished arguing in kitchens and restaurants. He said he was done playing the fool in stories I told at work and at family tables. He said he would not stand there while I turned him into a punchline and called it honesty. Then he looked right at me. He said he was going to handle things properly now. He repeated the word, properly. He said the next steps would not be screaming or public scenes. They would be clear, written steps. He said it was for Maya's sake and for his own sanity. He said whether I liked those steps or not would not change that he was taking them. I said he was bluffing, that he loved a quiet life too much to blow it up. I said he always cooled off, that this was just another phase. He did not answer. At that moment, his phone on the table buzzed. The screen lit up with an alarm label. Paper drop. He tapped it off with his thumb, picked up his headphones, and moved to the small desk. He put the headphones on, opened his laptop, and started a call in a low voice. I could hear only pieces from the doorway. He said he had the dates. He said he had copies. He said there was a child involved, and he wanted to know the next steps. 2 weeks later, I walked into the hospital cafeteria, thinking about coffee, not court. I was there to meet my father on his break and complain again that Ethan was bluffing. The room smelled like fries and disinfectant. People in scrubs lined up with trays. I stood near the dessert case, scrolling an old rooftop video of me raising my glass and talking about other men. A man in a plain jacket stopped in front of me. He asked if I was Leora Pauline. I said yes. He put a thick envelope in my hand and said I had been served. Then he walked away. On top page, it said petition to dissolve the marriage of Ethan Pellin and Leora Pellin. Under that, temporary orders. Ethan to keep the apartment, Maya's school nights with him, my time called parenting time, on a set schedule. The server said served at 12:14 p.m. as the cafeteria ticket printer beeped, and I saw Ethan turn away across the glassed-in hospital corridor outside.